paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, welcome in to Brainstorm Brewery, everybody. I'm Corbin Hostler, joined by my co-host Douglas Johnson this week. We are fresh off the Final Fantasy
Really?
pre-release.
Just friend?
I am.
Just co-host? Not even friend?
My
even
friend,
ally?
my co-host, 10 years in this together or something. One time we did parkour together. That happened. So, you know, I was at that spot in Indianapolis last weekend, and I remembered it. I don't know if you do.
Was that outside Harry and Izzy's?
Yeah. I was just like wandering back from the convention center one night.
You're like, is that my blood stain or is that somebody else's?
I was like, wait a minute. I know this bar. I've been here. But yeah, I was at the Spotlight Indianapolis. And it was fun, the Secret Lair Spotlight. So for people who weren't aware, this was the big modern event of the year. And I'll be honest, I think they were maybe a little disappointed with the attendance, which was just over 700 in Indianapolis. Now, as you might know, the Indianapolis Pacers were in the conference finals and now the NBA finals. There was also the weekend before the Indianapolis 500. So there's a lot
of
going on.
asterisks to this event. Even, I mean, you mentioned ones outside of Magic, but even within Magic, it's pre-Vegas. It is post 3 other big events that all happened in May. We went Minneapolis, Hartford. There was one other one before that, but like we had a lot of events.
I think there was a PAX East or something in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of events back to back to back. Final Fantasy release. Also, people are spending a bunch of money on this. Like,
correct. All of
Vegas. It's all a confluence of things, and I think the average 10 years ago Magic player would expect a modern indie Grand Prix to bring 1,500 people or something, but It was below average, I think, but it was also just fine. Like the event was just fine. And yeah, the Spotlight Secret Lair series, Spotlight Series Secret Lair, that's a mouthful. Spotlight Series Secret Lair is an event where if you win, you get to help wizards design a secret lair. You get to consult on one.
So this is the other thing I noticed about Modern in Indianapolis is that, and I think all the other things you mentioned that we both touched on there probably had much more to do with it. But I also just don't think Modern is the draw that it used to be. And I'm not talking about just the days when you could play Birthing Pod or Splinter Twin or any of that stuff. But the days of where you could just play something weird and do well. That's basically not the case anymore. The most popular deck was Boros Energy, almost entirely Modern Horizons 3. Is it Prowess with Corey Steel Cutter was one of the next best decks. Now, as it turns out, these decks didn't end up performing perfectly or winning, but they are just among the best things to do in the format, and that has been borne out by the data. What I didn't find going through 750 deck lists is the Scred Red of the bunch. Coming out of nowhere. The Enduring Ideal combo, these just weird decks that kind of used to work because Modern was at a different kind of power level. They've essentially all been killed. And now if you have an interesting deck, it's still with a Modern Horizons 3 card as the engine. So like, I'm not going to lie. It feels like Modern is just not just in a very tangible way is, just not even remotely reminiscent of any time period that people have enjoyed Modern. And that's not even to say that Modern won't become enjoyable in this time period, but like we're not even talking about like Yawgmoth Rhino days, right? Where people had, some sort of established shells and the Living Index look nothing like they used to, but at least Living In is still sort of playable. So anyway, that was my take on Modern from just, someone who did mining Modern for many years and loves Modern deck lists. It was just kind of difficult to see the state of the format.
You said you wish you had played. Elaborate.
I do. Well, let's start here, DJ. if you were to win this event and were able to design or consult on your own secret lair, what would you go for? Like, what would it be? Like, I can tell you that the advice.
I'm so glad you asked, because we went over this when I was at the event. Our booth talked about this. My ideal secret lair is Revel in Riches, Ancient Copper Dragon, Treasure Vault, and maybe a treasure token, and Gonti Lord of Luxury, and only 10 copies of this secret lair exist, and they're sold through the Scalefast website, and you still have to wait 3 hours, and they're all $1,000 each.
Is that the name of the website that routinely screws up the secret lairs?
Yeah, that Scalefast is the distribution platform that Wizards uses for the secret lairs.
It's wild to me that
$1,000 secret lair. They're serialized, 1 of 10. If you're one of the 10 people who gets to buy them, the one you get is randomized.
Massive.
So you could get all 1 of 1s or 1 of 10. You could get all 9 of 10s, whatever. They're all $1,000, but they'll be significantly more than that on the aftermarket because they are serialized, and you still have to go through the 3-hour wait queue to see if you get one. That's my ideal secret lair.
I don't understand why the platform doesn't work, man. I'm not going to lie. It's 2025. This is like, and I know I've talked about this, I should do like a story time with Corbin Haas. I didn't watch his First Things First. There's a fun segment they do. But I think that the fact that apps just don't work in 2025 is actually an affront to, like, God, right? Like, I would become religious to make it an affront to God. That's how offensive I find it. Just food for thought. I have not thought about what cards I'd actually want in the secret lair, but I
can tell. No. I'm going to cut you off here because I've been waiting for you to say that so I can activate my trap card rant. Corbin Hostler in our group chat yesterday at 1 a.m. posted,
what did I do?
I think I've workshopped around to the final boss version of my Universes Beyond tweet. Then he posted a screenshot that has this tweet that has been edited and since posted and gained some number of likes. You show up to episode 1 day at the Lego store, and everyone tells you that Lego is dead now because they're doing this thing. You point out the line that's around the block, and they just tell you to give you a few years. It'll be totally the year is 1999. Couple of tweaks, and I think I might send it as a standalone in the morning and start Monday off with a big, like, he treats this like a manifesto. That he is like an artisan chiseling the Greek statue that he's spent his lifetime on, carefully cultivating and growing and weeding the crop so that he can press the send button. And then at 4:11 p.m. today, the day we were supposed to record at 4:00 p.m., he just fires off like gun out of the holster instantly. No edits, no thinking, no brain power. Really wish I had competed in this spotlight secret lair so that if I won, I could make my secret lair my hometown 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, do you see the discrepancy, the conflicting ideas behind those ethos, Corbin?
I don't know, man. Like, sometimes we're social media professionals. Sometimes we're all vibes.
Alex Caruso. Yeah, obviously, all your followers. Let me refresh this real quick. 1 like. It's been an hour. 1 like. Are you happy with yourself? Are you happy with that cultivated brand image that you sculpted with that chisel?
Thunder up, baby. Mechanically unique cards. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Lugan Stort. Who'd we start this week? J-Dub. Isaiah Hardenstein. Chet Holmgren. Bonus card, Alex Caruso. Super bonus card, Sam Presti. Perfect secret lair. I wish I had played. Merfolk even made day 2. It could have been me.
And let's thank the world that it's not. Let's just take a moment, reflect. If you are religious, which Corbin clearly is, join him in prayer. And let's just thank the world that that's not what came to fruition. My secret lair would have been much better. My secret lair is peak.
So what actually did end up winning Indy was Gruul Brood Scale Combo. Speaking of Modern Horizons 3 cards, I'm not quite sure that anyone had on the bingo card Basking Brood Scale, along with Blade of the Blood Chief as the end game here. But a weird version of the deck that was actually less all in on the combo and more in on just being a limited, really good limited draft deck for Modern Horizons 3. Actually won the whole thing. So who knows? Who's to say? Maybe Modern will be okay.
I love decks like that where plan A is put the hamster in the sock and swing it at your opponent, and plan B is like, oops, you've activated my trap card, you're dead because I have 2 of these magic cards that happen to work together. Love that deck. As an ex-birthing pod aficionado, love a good, like, hit you with some guys, and then plan B is you tapped out, you die. Like, ideal Magic.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you'd expect this to be a, we've seen lots of this 2-mana green creature combo Court of Calling deck over the years, right? We go back to our Birthing Pod Kitchen Finks days. We've seen that deck. Its weaknesses are sort of known, exploitable. Like, they kind of are just a bunch of dumb little creatures if they don't do their thing, even if they're very good at doing their thing. That's just how the game works. But this deck is, like I said, it's a weird limited deck, but it's also just an Eldrazi deck as we know it in Modern, which is to say it plays 4 Malevolent Rumble, 4 Kozilek's Command. It plays Imrakul's The Promise End. It's got all of this going for it, in addition to being this combo at the end, which it can go pull out with Urza's Saga, because it gets to do that as well. So the entire deck really is pretty neat. It's playing Writhing Chrysalis, like Walking Ballista. That's an Eldrazi Tron, if we go back to that those days, staple. But oh, by the way, it also lets you be a win condition. So the finals, he actually won not by comboing, but by casting Emrakul the Promise End and controlling his opponent's turn. So a cool deck. Interested to see where Modern goes. Obviously, it hasn't had a Pro Tour or anything like that in quite a while with this ban list. So it's kind of open. And it is nice that the most popular deck in the room, Boros Energy, was not the best deck by the end of it all. So that's the Modern Secret Lair talk. Really, that's the Oklahoma City 2025 NBA Champions Thunder and 5 talk. But let's move on to Final Fantasy talk. I pre-released. DJ, did you get an opportunity to?
I did not. I mean, I had an opportunity to. I'm a human being who knows and isn't scared of calling a store and pre-reserving a spot. So I had the opportunity to. I chose not to because I was doing other things with my weekend.
I see. Well, I went and played Final Fantasy, and it was fun. It was fun to play Magic. There's a lot of words on the cards and a lot of names on the cards. And to me, it was all just the same as the new Magic playing because I didn't know what any of it meant.
Did you get any cards explained to you against your will?
I learned... Well, I asked somebody how the Saga creatures worked. I said, when the final Saga chapter happens, does it die? And they said, no, it's still just a creature. And I said, oh, okay. And then I played round 1, and they said, no, actually, it dies. So I guess I did have something explained to me against my will. Also, people told me lots about Sephiroth and Cloud and, the Ices, because I opened up Vanilla Icy, the green meld card. People had lots of talk about Vanilla Icy. Like, one person got offended that I kept calling it that. And I was like, first of all, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't have any clue. It's second of all, it's way more fun to call it Vanilla Icy. So deal with it. That was my take on Final Fantasy. Also, here's the deal. Tell me if you would have gone for this, TJ. The store I pre-released at was selling collector boxes, a deal where if you did the pre-release collector box and play booster box of Final Fantasy, you could do the whole thing for about $740. Would you have snapped that deal up?
If I was still a player with disposable income who cared about getting a deal on a collector box, sure.
No, that's basically the question. If it's worth, how much of a deal you're getting there. There's a couple of ways to look at it. You can also say you're just paying retail for the collector box and getting a free play booster box thrown in. But then it's like...
It's not a bad deal.
Yeah, I thought it was
Did your
it
store
was,
do the thing where they cut the plastic wrap?
No, but I liked that, to be honest. That was my favorite deal of all of them. Right? So you want to explain what that was?
Uh, yeah. So there are some stores in both Magic and outside of Magic who will be due to the desire to keep the cards at least somewhat in the community. There are stores offering a deal of the price for the collector booster box is X, and it is X plus Y if you choose to keep the Saran wrap on because you would want to like hold it or resell it or do something otherwise air quotes nefarious with it. So
Untoward.
it's really just an incentive to like for the local players to keep the cards somewhat in the community and just sort of a way to ensure is a bad word, but try to keep the cards from being just flipped online immediately and abusing the LGS's markup, which like number one, I feel like whatnotters can still just like fire sale collector packs
I don't think
in that
it makes
way.
a difference. But yeah.
And number two, I had this sort of mini rant with my own group chat of local players, but I don't want to begrudge any LGS that is making the maximum amount of money they can on these collector boosters. I don't care what MSRP is. MSRP is a bad thing, and the fact that they brought it back is really annoying for a lot of reasons. But I don't think players give any consideration to the average store that has to eat all of the losses on bad sets, like Crimson Vow, like Aether Drift, like Streets of New... Like, there are so many stores that have just boxes of these bad sets sitting on the shelves, and if they're supposed to sell for MSRP, then like they should just never take a loss on them and just leave them on the shelf. They should only ever discount, never go up, right? It's like the meme with the dog bone of like, no fetch, only throw or whatever. Like, but stores should be allowed to take the wins when they are given them because the wins are so infrequent. Like, why are we begrudging the average local game store for making 200 to 300% once in a blue moon on these collector boxes when every other part of the industry is so hostile to the LGS? Like, the average person opening up a local game store has to take on so much risk with so much money and work so many hours for so little gain. And like, why are we persecuting local game stores for saying, yes, this collector booster box is $850. Yes, I bought it for $200 to $300. Like, you can pay that or go up, because like if the LGS sells it at like 500, then you have the moral high ground of like, oh, I got this sick deal, and like, great. Then they're either going to sell it to the scalpers or sell it to the whatnotters or whatever. Like, I'm so annoyed with people who are just putting LGS owners into the fire over this. Like, let them get their one win of the year. And like, even if collector boosters consistently sell for 2 or 3x markup, like, okay, that's what an average retail store's margins are. We're so drenched in the paint of this sick industry of like, oh, stores are supposed to pay 80 for their boxes and sell them for 100. Do you know how much of an insanely small margin that is?
Yep.
Just historically, in any other industry would laugh at you. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Like, I completely agree. I mean, this gets into a little bit, and I'm not going to get into all the discourse I've had online this week, but the idea of, is making money morally good? Is sort of an idea. Like, what does good for Magic mean? Is sort of a concept here. Like, is Final Fantasy, is it good for Magic that stores get to sell Final Fantasy boxes at $750? Like, I can see many ways in which it's bad, but running LGSs is also not a very profitable business in the first place. And now we live in a world where there's just infinite direct-to-consumer selling from Wizards of the Coast directly. Like, all of these things, like, is having an LGS morally good? If so, you do need that LGS to make money to stay in business. And as someone who owned an LGS, that's obviously not a given. So I just think that
if it was easy money, I would have done it 7 years ago. I don't own an LGS, and there's a big, like, this is one of the many reasons I don't, because it was
so stressful just to, like, more or less, break even once you really consider the time the owners put into it, right? Like, so it just becomes a point where it's just not the thing worth doing with your life because, but yeah. So there's a lot there. Obviously, let's get into the next part of it with Final Fantasy, which is just to say, the play aspect of it. I did find it pretty fun. It felt like normal Magic to me. I've never played with a Universes Beyond, I guess is the way to put it. Outside, I mean, I did Lord of the Rings, but I don't know. Maybe it was because of the high fame that, as most people say, that felt less jarring because it was still sort of fantasy type stuff, whatever. But this felt fine to me. I will say that the most confusing card in the world that I think they have printed in many years, and I'll find the exact name of it here, but the black card with the tiered mechanic that changes the power and toughness and then returns the creature to play.
Vincent's Limit Break. Yeah, Emily talked about it last week.
Yes, yeah. So
because you think that it
Kai
has
Buddha.
the power toughness shift after the Undying.
Kai Bud, the goat, like of goats, thought that's how it worked. At first, when I read it, I thought that was how it works, but I actually know that it just can't work like that via the rules. So I got that wasn't how it worked, but that has got to be up there with the most confusing cards ever printed. And I get why they formatted it the way they did, but oof. That was my other takeaway because I watched that card get played wrong multiple times across the weekend. But yeah, so we're going to get more into the prices and some of the availability and things like this later on. But first, let's break some bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
I have a Shards of Alara Black Common. I picked a Shards of Alara card specifically for you, Corbin.
I appreciate this.
Bespoke, tailor-made, this silver platter.
I mean,
if I picked any set a year before or after, you're like, well, I didn't play back
then. I agree. No, this is certainly a guessable one for me, I would think. A black uncommon, you said, from Shards?
Common, Common.
Oh, okay. Black common from Shards, huh?
It does have reprints, but they are really shitty reprints.
Executioner's Capsule?
Not a bad guess, but no.
Shit.
This card does have reprints, but they are objectively not really reprints, all things considered.
Executioner's Capsule felt like a good guess.
I was a little scared you'd get this one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work through the...
it's a creature.
I'm trying to work through the different mechanics, right? For black and Shards. So Esper was all the artifacts, which is how I ended up on the other, on Executioner's Capsule. What was the Grixis?
Unearth.
It was Unearth. I played the shit out of that red-black Unearth Uncommon.
Cathari Bomber. Yeah, big popper guy.
Yeah, that one. Remnant was the one I was thinking of too. Or maybe that's the answer. Is it the Remnant?
No.
Is it a Cycler? Is it a Monstrous Carabid? Or
not a Cycler.
That's from Alara Reborn, probably.
Does not have a keyword on it.
All right, I give up.
Death Greeter.
Oh, the classic.
The classic Death Greeter. The opposite of Soul Warden. Whenever a creature dies, you may gain a life. Famously reprinted in Dual Deck Garruk versus Liliana.
Oh, this thing's expensive.
Dual Deck Anthologies Garruk Liliana, and the list with the art from Dual Deck Anthology Garruk Liliana. So three really terrible reprints on top of each other that add to the name each time. The original Shards printing is like a couple bucks, and if you can find these clean, you can probably list them for like $2.99 or so. They're real nice money, but cards from Shards of Alara were 17 years ago roughly, so
Yikes.
Yeah.
You mean that with hyperbole?
No, Corbin, I mean it with hyperbole.
17 years ago was 2008. When did
Do you
Shards
need
of Alara come out?
Do you need to bring your kids back in here to do the math?
When did Shards of Alara come out, DJ?
2008.
So old. I do remember drafting that set though. I would draft it again. I imagine I would be disappointed by drafting it again. It's usually how I feel when they do flashback drafts. Because I think that Limited from the past 5 years has just been so good that a lot of so they did Khans of Tarkir on Arena, original Khans, remembered as one of the great classic draft formats. And I'm not going to lie, it's not that deep of a format. It's just not it just doesn't compare to the high points of the last 5 years. And that was a classic. All right. My Breaking Bolt comes from a set that was actually probably one of the worst Limited formats of any era.
Zendikar Rising.
I liked that one, DJ.
From what I heard, everyone said green was wildly out of power level with the other colors.
As in too good or too bad?
I don't remember. I kept it vague specifically
you
to
might
avoid answering that question.
Well, I understand. Well, so for instance, battle for Zendikar, green was considered unplayable. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but
no,
Zendikar Rising was the party format. That one was fun. No, I'm talking Journey into Nyx, which means the format was I don't even remember if you drafted forward or backwards at that point.
It was Journey Born Theros.
Yeah. Not great. In fact, pretty bad. But this green uncommon is still worth some money and is a $5 foil.
From Journey into Nyx.
There are not many. In fact, I will tell you the two most expensive non-rares from the set are, in fact, tokens. I did not choose either of them. This is the most expensive uncommon or uncommon in the set, and it's about 75 cents, $5 foil.
Is Aspect of Wolf is Born of the Gods, I think? It's like a 5-mana aura makes 2 wolves. Is that it?
I know what you're talking about. That's not it.
Okay. My mind keeps bringing me to Theros Beyond Death cards, which is not helpful.
Yes, that's what I think that last one was from. This, if I tell you the keyword on it, you'll get it. If you're ready, tell me when you want that.
I mean, so it's either Constellation or Devotion?
If you remember anything about this set, good for you.
Constellation was...
At one point, I'll tell you, Nyx Fleece Ram was a pick. I remember.
Yes, it was.
Card.
Yeah,
I loved that one back in the day. It's bulk now.
Green uncommon from Journey into Nyx.
The mechanic is Strive.
Oh, it's got a Johnny on it. A Johnny.
It does.
Yeah, and it's
not called a Johnny's, but yes, you're right
put
there.
Counters on stuff.
Yeah, it is. Solidarity of Heroes.
Yes.
It's it's got Johnny beating Solidarity or something. You can strive. You can pay 2 more for another target beyond the first. Choose any number of target creatures. Double the number of counters on them. It's worth money simply because it says double the number of counters. That's a thing, and because it's only been reprinted in Commander 2016 as well as Commander Anthology, and both of those.
Any card that the CEO of Chessex has a 5-row of is a good pick.
What? I don't get it.
You, Corbin, that was a good joke. Chessex is like the main dice company.
Oh. There you go. I didn't know that.
Oh, here's a fun one. So I got a Reddit DM, and occasionally I get like Reddit DMs or just like messages in weird places about like, hey, I heard you're the guy to sell Magic cards to. Just like completely unprompted, just cold open. And just like this random Redditor, like, oh, hey, yeah. I told him like, yeah, I'm blah, blah, blah. This is me. This is who I am. I gave him my spiel. Like, I'm based in the Syracuse, Liverpool area. And then he said, oh, never mind. I'm US based.
You said Liverpool.
But I did, and like I've made that mistake like forever ago. And then I said, "Oh, I need to add Syracuse because like Syracuse is a city in Italy and Liverpool is a city in the UK, so nobody can possibly think that I am in Europe based on that information, I said
Of course
Syracuse
they could.
/
They're American. Europe is one place. Like,
I would like one Europe, please. I will pay for that with my €6.
I was literally Googling, is Syracuse a town in Europe?
It's
So
Italy.
glad you
Syracuse,
told
like a
me,
lot of
yeah.
upstate New York is Italy. So like Rome, Albany, like yeah.
That's funny.
And so like, just like I'm Syracuse, Liverpool based because I didn't know if this Redditor is like local to me. Maybe they're like 2 hours from me. I don't know. But
yeah. Just give them your address next time. Just dox yourself.
no, they're in Minnesota. And they know nothing about
funny.
Magic cards, and they said they have 8 cases of Magic cards, so probably like Shiro boxes.
Well, it's either going to be really good or really bad for you.
Oh yeah.
As it's meant to be. I had a conversation with an Uber driver the other day about that. They were, lamenting about how, mom got rid of their Pokemon cards or whatever back in the day. And I was thinking about how, like, when we got started in the industry, that was a real thing. Like, parents would get rid of Pokemon cards from the attic and put them on Craigslist, and you could go score just insane deals. And that is not only is that not a thing, it's not been a thing in so long that I don't even really think about it not being a thing anymore.
No, it's still a thing.
To a much lesser extent.
It's probably less common, but I've had customers.
No one's Black Lotuses are sitting in the attic anymore, man.
I have had customers who have told me that this is like an 18-year-old who said that they had original Mirrodin cards from their dad, and they were like gifted down to them. And then like when this 18-year-old went to college, their mom threw away the cards.
Okay. Yeah, but like, obviously, once we start talking about a generational chain of mom threw out the cards, we start to lose some percentage. Like, but you don't go find dual lands and Black Lotuses on Craigslist mom's closet ads anymore. Although you might soon be able to get them at estate sales.
This is an important distinction. Hang on. You can't find that on Craigslist, but you can find moms on Craigslist. You can do that.
I think estate sales are going to be the new Craigslist.
I'm a little disappointed that Facebook Marketplace kind of killed yard sales to an extent.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like to do estate sales sometimes because of it.
That is the worst. Out of all the things Facebook has done, killing yard sales is the worst.
Is there a difference between a yard sale and a garage sale?
Whether it's on your yard or in your garage.
But a garage sale, like we have a neighborhood garage sale, and it's always out on people's driveways.
Well, then they're wrong.
That makes it that is a driveway a yard, or is it a driveway sale?
Driveway's a yard sale.
What if it's in the garage and the driveway? Because they have a lot of.
Then you put garage/yard sale.
Ah, I see. That makes sense. Hyphenated, of course. No, we have one of those every year in my neighborhood. I like to go around.
Also known as a garage sale.
There was an estate sale near me recently from 2 people who didn't die. They just, I guess, were in their 60s or whatever and decided United States, we're moving to Mexico. And instead of dealing with their they literally just paid an estate sale company to come into their home and get rid of it all. So, like, it was an interesting experience. It was, just a couple streets over.
At that point, just fake your own death.
It was something. It was for sure an interesting story. But among the highlights I learned when estate sale companies go into these, whatever, pricing thing they use to price things out is not only, as you would expect, very expensive, but just not real, right? So, for instance, they had some computer parts, speakers, that sort of thing, sort of normally priced. Some things may be underpriced. Like that of VR, I think actually ended up maybe a little underpriced. But they also were charging $40 for the original World of Warcraft box. And the reason they were doing that is because they don't realize it was just the box and that you just go download World of Warcraft online for free. You just have to pay for it, right? Like, but they just put the number on the box. It comes from whatever website they're using, and they're charging like $25 for Madden 2012 or something, right? So just wholly not real. But that means you're going to get some pretty big mistakes in the future on Magic players who die and leave massive collections. And I'm pretty sure that there might be an opportunity there. Just saying. As a reminder, All of our breaking bulks and the pick of the weeks coming to you later come courtesy of MTGstocks.com. It's the number one source for Magic financial information on the internet, where we get all of our information. And I'll be honest, I use Pika Stocks too every week for my articles on TCG players. So definitely check out MTGstocks.com.
This week's pick of the week, I used MTG Stocks. I used the all-time lows section. I went to that page. I filtered out some of the extraneous data, which they make very easy to do. So I cut out all of the etched foils, all of the surge foils, all of the extended arts, yada, yada, yada. Just really easy to filter all that out, find some cards that are at their all-time low, and make some decisions based on the data available, which ones you think will be recovering in the future. And that is what I used for my pick of the week this week.
I like that little tease ahead there. That's what we call that, a toss forward or something. I don't know. But check. Either way, the point is you can get what you need from mtgstocks.com. Check it out. Speaking of, that's where we're going to go to look at Final Fantasy prices. So this has obviously been a lot of talk. The $700 collector booster boxes.
TCG's up to $850 now.
Well, that is exactly what I was going to bring up, is they've actually gotten more expensive, not less. So are we just on the way to $1,000 collector booster boxes? I mean, we know there's not more coming, right? Does that mean the price, if there wasn't a drop after release, does that mean it's just not going to be a drop?
I think so. This is not me telling you to go buy a Final Fantasy collector booster box at $700 or $800, but I do think that these boxes will be somewhere in the realm of $1,000 to $1,200. I'd be very, very, very surprised to see them go to like 15 or 2K. Because at that point you get into the realm of like, is this box better than like some old boomer Magic box like Onslaught, or is it like you start getting into like the 2000 numbers? That's like really old, really entrenched, valuable sealed product. And I don't think this holds a candle to that. So the two numbers, the reason I say $1,000 and $1,200, $1,000 is obviously a very big psychological breakpoint for somebody to spend money on. 4-digit number, very big and scary. And $1,200 is the breakdown for like, this is a $100 booster pack. Like we've had $100 booster pack in the past with like the Double Masters VIP where it's $400, 4 packs, or whatever. But this is 12 booster packs for Final Fantasy. And once you get past the $1,200 mark, that is over $100 per booster pack. And I think that's another really big psychological barrier to clear. And that's where you start getting to the sort of rationalization of like, oh, I need to open a chocobo from this, or I am in a bad place. The chocobos have been floating like somewhere in the $1,200 to $1,500 range. I traded for one this past Thursday. I am probably losing money on it if I sell it right now. I think the chocobos will do okay-ish to good in the long term. There's some open debate about whether these are like borderless poster one rings or if they're like a Hidetsugu situation.
Yep, exactly.
Hidetsugu, I feel like, did poorly specifically because it was just a bad character to pick for that kind of situation.
They were still experimenting a little bit, right? They
were experimenting. I think that card and its variants would have done much better if they just picked Tamio for it. Probably, like, fan favorite Planeswalker, first completed Phyrexian Planeswalker, just really cool Phyrexian mana callback on just for the first time in forever, and like, I don't really know why they picked Hidetsugu as this regular rare for all of the cool variants of it. Like, they did the same thing with Mana Crypt, and Mana Crypt did well until
I wonder if stuff like the Hidetsugu, and this sort of gets into another conversation, but like if they were trying to hit on standard playability or something there, right? Maybe. We start talking about the Shoot the Sheriffs and the Laughing Jasper Flint misses this season. And like just how difficult I think that sort of thing actually is for Wizards. Although I do have to say, like, what you're serving up with Tamio seems like a pitch room discussion that ends with saying, yeah, Tamio's a better choice.
Yeah. I mean, the golden chocobos are like a whole nother thing entirely, and the black ones are just kind of like 2x better than the other multicolored ones right now. I'd be really, really, really surprised if we saw the Final Fantasy collector boosters eclipse 1,200. Fallout boxes are selling at 1,000 right now, and that is, like I said, a really tough psychological breakpoint to get to that 4-digit number. They're all like 980 or 990.
I'll tell you, I'm struggling just because I swear I was just buying collector boxes for 250, man. Like,
Of what set?
I mean, Duskmorn, I guess. But, like, I don't know what Duskmorn boxes are at now. But it's like I've pre-ordered 4 of them at $220 each or something, right? And now we're just, like, talking about $600, $700, $800, $900 collector booster boxes. And things have progressed quickly.
Yeah, I think Fallout and Lord of the Rings are the 2 closest comparisons we have to this in terms of just raw scarcity, and it's still uncharted territory because as you jump from fandom to fandom, you do get wildly different results. And I don't think investing in collector booster boxes is a good idea when we just had the opportunity to buy a bunch of Final Fantasy cards through Secret Lairs, and those are much more free money. And cue the rabble frustration of
the website,
being unable to purchase it due to technical difficulties or whatnot, which I get. It sucks. I still think your EV on playing that slot machine, the lottery of being able to purchase it, is much better than the slot machine of actually purchasing a collector box and then either...
DJ, I want to introduce you to the Pokey Investing sub, and I want to just, like, unleash you in the term opportunity cost on these people, man. I want you to just see you destroy... Because Pokemon collectors are the absolute epitome of how many thousands of dollars can I sink into bundles, essentially, the equivalent of bundles for the closet to sit on for many, many, many years.
Oh, just the ETB orders? Yeah.
Yes, it's insane. Like, how many people are just like, yeah, I know Prismatic's at the height right now, but I just dropped $1,200 on it anyway. I think it'll go up. And they're like, yeah, dude, you're right. 4 to 5 years from now, it's great. And the next person's like, yeah, dude, the plan's always to hold it for 10 years. And I'm just like, you people are so bad at this. You're all
Corbin,
so bad at this. It's insanity.
The market is capped when it comes to NFTs. They have to find something else.
They are, man, and it's just like you can see it's hard to just have a perfect mental image just by reading a few lines of text, but sometimes you can just tell that they're the mark. Like, especially the people who are like, I was keeping it sealed, but then one night it just got to me and I busted one of them, and I did okay, you know.
Weakness.
It's just like, you are the absolute bag holders.
The weakest of blood.
It's very funny.
Your children will not survive the winter.
I've got 2 Final Fantasy collector booster boxes. I agreed to sell one to a friend at $700, the price that I got it at. The other I got at $650 early on, and I think that one's just going in my closet for a while. But that's about the limit, and I do have $650 to put onto a collector booster box to sit in the closet for a while, because it's a very small amount of the overall Magic, that I'm doing. But it's not exactly I spent my paycheck on ETBs for sure. Yeah. Anyway, that's so I do think it's wild, just the prices of Final Fantasy, and just that we are having a conversation about $700 boxes going up in price.
Oh yeah, it's a wild world we're living in. I think the cards from the set will be affordable for standard. That is sort of what matters in the grand scheme of things here when it comes to actually being able to play the game. Have of course seen the conversation of like Magic is getting too expensive, and then point to like the price of bulk rares and what you can get. Like, inflation aside, what you can get for $100 in Magic now versus like 5-10 years ago, so much higher power level. If you're willing to put that $100 into like just putting a cart together on like Card Kingdom or like at your local game store when it comes to like bulkier cards, even if you're like paying an upcharge on bulk rares and you're like, oh yeah, my LGS charges $1 minimum for a bulk rare, you're still getting so much more value from so many high-powered staples that have been reprinted a dozen times in the past 10 years. Like, it's crazy what your power level gets you bang for your buck wise nowadays.
If you're just a casual player, you mean, or
Yeah.
just a commander
You're
player,
throwing
right?
dollars at like painful quadries and inexorable tides and like Rishkar's expertises and like all these insane like $5-10 commander cards that were just the bread and bunny or the bread and bunny. Wow, the bread and butter of the game years ago, pre-COVID. Like you're just getting so much more bang for your buck, bang for your bunny. Sorry.
Yeah, I also, and I don't remember if we talked about this last week or not. We might have. Just how much context of inflation gets lost in these things.
Yeah.
When we're talking about prices of cards, and that's not to say Magic isn't expensive. As a matter of fact, I'll lay this one on you, DJ. Someone told me that they thought the thing that killed Magic over the week was the lack of focus on competitive play and the fact that it was harder, it was more expensive than ever to keep up with. And I said, well, because of the focus on collectability now. And I said, well, what do you think about the idea that the focus on high-end chase collectibles, like all these chocobos and things that we're talking about, pushes the prices of the base versions of cards that you can just sleeve up and play in standard down? And they said, that would be true if not for the fact that there are so many more releases and so much more churn that it is still more expensive. And that is happening as a push as a result of their push for collectability. That was the argument, or the, I don't want to say argument, the discussion point that was raised there. I thought was interesting.
I think you argued with a brainworm.
I mean, I don't know. It's a real person who's talking about that. I mean, that's a real person who, at least according to them, used to play standard and now doesn't. I do think that there tends to be a lot of motivated reasoning when it comes to that sort of thing. But I did think that was an interesting point. There are very expensive cards in standard. And at one point, in order to be competitive in standard, you did pretty much need to spend $250 on a playset of Shieldreds. And now Shieldred's still legal. It's just not very good at all anymore. And I don't even know what the price is. You probably would have got some amount of money back. But like, there is a lot of churn of expensive cards.
Not changed at all in the past 3 years. That's the insane part.
But it is weird to me that part, because and the card is still enormously powerful. It's good in Pioneer, etc. But it is true that if you spent $300 on a playset of those, you then have to, like, now they're just not even playable really in standard, right? Based on where standard is, and you got to spend $100 on a playset of the next thing. And to some extent, that's just normal, whatever. But I can see if you're somebody who's playing standard and was opting out of the Universes Beyond or whatever commander releases, the fact that there are 6 sets coming into standard does maybe represent an overall increase in the upkeep, associated with it. I don't know, just lots. I mean, there's lots of interesting perspectives on it, but I just thought that was an interesting thing. And now Wizards has all of this in mind. I think that's part of the reason they, of course, gave us the 3-year standard, so people don't have to be dealing with cards rotating out as often. The idea is that maybe you have your
on a playset of Shoulders and you get to play them for 2.5 years, and then you sell that playset of Shoulders for $200. You have won. You have completed homeostasis to the highest degree. You have achieved Buddhist enlightenment, and Alexander wept for there were no more worlds to conquer. Like, you did it. You did the good thing. Like, what do we have to complain here? You got so much equity out of those Magic the Gathering cards, and they were standard legal.
Yes, I mean, I think that obviously that's a good way to look at it. I think maybe what some people do is they spend the money on the Shieldreds, play them for a while, Shieldred becomes bad, trade them in for the Gruul deck, the Gruul deck becomes bad, trade it in for the Quarry Steel Cutters, and at the end of it, they feel like they, lost money. But guess what? You are paying to play the game, and that money in that case is hopefully going into your LGS. But I don't know, it's just obviously an interesting discussion point with all of these different prices floating around. When we're talking about the insane high end of the prices, it is important, as you mentioned, to acknowledge what you can get at a low cost these days.
Yeah, I am just constantly dumbfounded by the power level of cards that exist under $1 nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And the number of cards, and that's the game we play where we pick the not bulk or pick the one that's not bulk or is bulk. I don't remember the name of the game, but it's a great game because there's a lot of cards that used to be $5 to $10 that are just bulk now, and there's also some that are bulk. But it can be it's a lot of transition, right? A lot of shock,
for sure.
All right,
every filter land is bulk except for like 2.
That's a great example.
Like
because
the
those were
Eventide lands
bills.
that used to be 20 a piece, they're all bulk
Yeah.
except for like 1 or 2. I forget which one. I think it's Sunken Ruin, but like
That's oof, actually.
Mayhem Devil used to be $3 consistent breaking bulk from War of the Spark. Bulk now. It's
Yeah,
in like the
bulk
Ravnica
very much.
remastered, and it's an RCQ promo and Clue or whatever. Blah 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 blah.
Man, and I've got like Expedition filter lands. I don't even want to think about it. Oof.
Oblivion Stone.
That was like $40 or something. Yeah, at one point I believe. Some of those are obviously they were just expensive because of scarcity. But you're right. Like a whole bunch of the cards that used to be $5 to $10 are $1 now. All right. Well, speaking of cards that might be $1
Giada Fawns
now,
of Hope. Remember that pick of the week?
I do. Yeah.
Under $1. Card got reprinted a bunch.
Yeah, I'm thinking, the more straightforward, the more foundations like a card is, the more likely it is to be reprinted. Right? Like Giada's like, oh, basic Angel Enabler.
Yeah.
Straightforward. Okay, well, let's wrap up this week with everyone's favorite segment. Some, they would say, would even listen to the whole show to get here. Our picks are so good. It's time for Pick of the Week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
If you listened to the whole show just for this moment, congratulations. You did it. You stuck through to the end, and now you get your value. You get that sweet EV that not even a $300 playset of Shieldred's used for 2.5 years can fill the black little hole in your art.
Started at the beginning, now you're here.
My pick of the week is a card from Commander: Murders at Karlov Manor. The card was originally in Visions, and it was reprinted in the list. And that's all for its printings, and its market price is under $4. I'm talking about Necromancy, the card that requires 2 whole George R.R. Martin pages worth of text to explain its rules. Card is really, really weird. Was only printed in this modern frame once. It has it's so many words for such a simple effect. And I think that's why they avoided reprinting it for such a long time. I think this is a card that is really hard to put in a secret. Like, you can't make a borderless version of this card, right? Like, you can't One Ring poster this dialogue box, this Chat GPT 300 word prompt here. So, like, I think the reprint avenues are limited, specifically because of complexity issues. Like, it was in a Commander precon. I think that was more out of, Jesus, this card needs to be reprinted at some point, and not out of, oh, this is a great card to put in a bunch of precons in the future. Card is still very, very, very powerful for what it does. I would expect this kind of thing to rebound to the $10 mark over time, assuming it gets to play that little Matrix bullet dodging game of avoiding reprints. If you are looking to spend money on Magic cards and you have not exhausted your coffers on Final Fantasy Secret Lairs and various collector boxes and or collections from people selling their collections to buy Final Fantasy collector boxes, then I think picking up a couple copies of Necromancy is fine if you are still the gambling gamer that is in it for the thrill, who likes to feel like the real value of speculating here, let's be honest, the real value of speculating here is being able to tell your friends that you won. It's not about the money anymore. If you want to speculate on Magic the Gathering cards, just buy the reserved list cards that Wizards of the Coast puts on their Scale Fast website every month. That's all speculating is, but that's not fun. That's not sexy. The sexy part is being able to have a 1 row full of Necromancies, look at it like a pervert in a drawer every couple of weeks, and then forget that you own them. A Google Calendar notification pops 2 years from now that says, sell them, you idiot, and then you get to make a small amount of money that was overall not worth it. Your opportunity cost there, you're a Pokemon ETB buyer at this point, but you get to tell your friends that you won, and that's the real value.
Brainstorm Brewery, everybody.
One of my
JJ, you
favorite
should
things.
clip that.
One of my favorite things a friend told me many years ago was, DJ, you would rather be right than happy, and I think this is a good example of that. You'd rather be right than happy.
Something. What is life without purpose? What is purpose if not hoarding ETBs until you make $5 a box on them? Come on. Anyone can work. Anyone can just go to a job and make money and spend money. You got to have a quest, you know?
Everyone does need a quest. And your quest is to tell us your pick of the week right now.
My pick of the week is Mockingbird. It's from Bloomborough. It's $2 right now. And it's really, really, really powerful. It's the 1/1 for 1, but it has X in its cost. And it comes into play as a copy, where X is the mana cost of the thing you're copying. Except, oh, by the way, it's a bird and it flies. So probably one of the best clone effects we've seen in many years. It's sunk all the way down to $2. It's starting to creep up from that. This strikes me as a post-rotation, post-bannings type all-star, or at least card that has a lot of upside at $2. Bloomborough is a very powerful set. Birds are, of course, getting more support in Final Fantasy, and whether or not that translates into some kind of constructed deck doesn't mean the Mockingbird won't just climb anyway based on all of that.
I think I would rather, if I was going to buy this card, which I'm not, I would rather own the showcase frame, because I think the showcase frame is twice as much, but I think it has less than half the odds of getting reprinted, if that makes sense, in that art.
It does. My question when it comes to stuff like this is that we see this a lot and we talk about it a lot. How many prices are based on SEO and not which art is better? And I literally don't know what that means for
the velocity on the showcase one will probably be worse, but I think the risk avoidance is better.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, the showcase one actually looks pretty sick. So I bet it looks very good in foil in person. It's a $15 foil.
This is a CEDH card.
Yeah, that's probably also.
That's an endorsement, not a draw.
Yeah. No, that's probably got a lot of game there as well. All right, well there you go, everybody. Those are what you stuck around for because they were good. Vegas is coming up, DJ. Next week, I believe, will be our last show before the big con. So, if anyone has anything they want to know, they want to follow up on, they want us to talk about before the convention, that's probably something we can do next week. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on YouTube. Let us know on Patreon if you're a patron at patreon.com/BSB, because after all, you are the ones who make this show possible.
If we had zero Patreon supporters, I would not do this podcast.
That is also true for me.
I
so
am
please,
thoroughly willing to do this podcast in many different situations that do not involve us becoming YouTube famous. Very, very happy to just hang out with the peeps every week.
Yeah.
But once it gets into the personal expense to myself, I get a great deal. I got a lot of other stuff to do, man. You're not worth that much.
I understand. But so please, everybody, patreon.com/BSB now more than ever. We
$1.
We really do appreciate it.
$1 pays for like a few minutes of JJ's time, which is all it takes for him to cut the thing that cancels us. So like your $1 could be the
saves
thing.
The show. Saves the show. So yes, please, if you could go to patreon.com/BSB for 20 or 25 cents a week, you could save the show. So thank you. And on that note, everybody, this has been Brainstorm Brewery. We'll see you next week. That's a new ad read. I like that.
I just came up with that in the moment. I'm really glad I did.